Taoiseach, if you go on daft.ie or myhome.ie now and look for rental accommodation, you are very unlikely to find any rental accommodation for less than €2,000 a month, and you're more likely to see 2,500 to 3,000. Now, many of the people who would want to rent that accommodation will be over the social housing income thresholds and therefore are entitled to no rent support at all. But rents like that would amount to 60, 70%, maybe more, 80% of their income. It's just not possible for people, right? So what I want to ask you is, do you agree with the Commission on Taxation and Welfare that we shouldn't have cliff edges when it comes to supports, income supports, and particularly to do with rent, and that you would introduce some sort of rent support for people over the social housing income thresholds, because those kind of rents, you would have to admit, are just not affordable for ordinary workers?
Taoiseach.
Again, I want to thank the deputies for their questions, and want to join Deputy Batchick in welcoming the decision today to grant the LDA planning permission to build another 800 homes in Dundrum, South Dublin. That'll be in addition to those under construction already by the LDA not too far away in Shangana, and it will of course include a mix of social and affordable for purchase homes. I don't know the answer to the deputy's question on the Poolbeg site, so I'll have to come back to her when I have the facts. Deputy Barry raised an industrial relations dispute. Not aware of the details of the issue. We don't have any mechanism to prevent companies from offshoring, from moving jobs to other jurisdictions. We benefit from that too, as well. A lot of companies that are not Irish bring their jobs to Ireland, so we need to bear that in mind. But certainly if anyone is losing their job, they are entitled to proper information and consultation. That should happen. They're entitled to a redundancy package, and also the government can step in and offer help with job search, with education, with training, with other opportunities to help to go back to education, help to set up a business. All of those things will be made available. In relation to upskilling, I agree with Deputy MacDonald. Springboard works extremely well, and we will be increasing the amount we invest in upskilling and lifelong learning in the period ahead. When it comes to National Training Fund surplus, I think it is a good idea to build up a substantial surplus in the National Training Fund. There will come a time when unemployment is not as low as it is now, and we're going to need the surplus in the National Training Fund to retrain people. We're going to need the surplus in the Social Insurance Fund to cover increased job seeker costs. And my concern when I listen to Deputy MacDonald and Sinn Féin is any time they see a surplus, they want to spend it all now. What happens in 5 years' time or 10 years' time if we face, for some reason or another, high levels of unemployment? Who's going to pay for the reskilling? Who's going to pay the job seekers and the welfare supports? So it's important that you do build up surpluses in times of plenty. And we're doing exactly that, Deputy. But it seems to be the approach from Sinn Féin is see a surplus, spend the surplus, and then there's nothing left when you need it down the line. And that is the pathway to a return to austerity. And that's what I hear all the time from Sinn Féin. The glide path back to austerity. Spend the surplus now. And have nothing left, essentially, when you need it most. In relation to Deputy Tobin's question on taking money off, or the reduction in excise on petrol and diesel, we reduced excise on petrol and diesel by 15 to 20 cents. That was at a time when it was 500 cents per litre at the pumps. It's come down considerably now. It's about 140, 150. And he pointed out that we have taken in a lot of revenues from VAT on petrol and diesel and on gas and electricity, and that's true. But it's also been given back as well. The TBES scheme for business, a big budget for that. And the energy credits alone, just roughly writing them down here, 600 per household, 2 million households, that's 1.2 billion given back in energy credits alone. In relation to Deputy Muraku's question, the duty of care law is now in the Seanad. We'd expect to have it enacted this year, but that's not entirely under our control. notwithstanding the fact that Beyonce and Coldplay didn't play concerts in Ireland, there are a huge amount of concerts happening all over Ireland this year, in Dublin and Cork and Galway and Slane. They've all got insurance, so I'm not sure it's as simple as the story that we're being told, that it's down to insurance solely. Deputy Boyd Barrett asked about the cliff edge and that there shouldn't be a cliff edge. And I agree with them on that, but that's why we have the cost rental, so that people who don't qualify for social housing, who used to then qualify for nothing, now qualify for cost rental as well. And I do think we need to review the limits every year to take into account house prices and earnings, and we have increased them, and I anticipate we'll increase them some more. Just in relation to investment in the West, there's enormous investment happening in the west of Ireland at the moment. Only a few weeks ago, Minister Coveney announcing probably the biggest private sector investment ever in the west of Ireland, and that's 1,000 jobs being created by Dexcom in Athenry. I'll be in Mayo shortly to open the new road between Westport and Castlebar, a €250 million investment, probably the biggest ever public investment in County Mayo. Keen to continue to engage with Ireland West Airport at Knock as to how we can invest there. The National Broadband Plan, so hundreds of millions of investment going in every year. More needed, and it will continue for so long as the parties that are currently in government are in government. If the opposition parties get into office, there will be a fundamental change of economic policy, and we will be in a recession within 3 years, and you'll be cutting all those budgets, and mark my words, and somebody keep that for the future in the unlikely events that they ever form a government. In terms of Deputy Murphy's question, Deputy Smith's, in my view, strikes are best avoided, and they are always resolved in the end. They can be resolved bilaterally through talks, they can be resolved at the WRC, or they can be resolved at the Labour Court, and that is how the government intervenes, using the offices of government, the Labour Court and WRC. Ishgarn is not going to be privatised. That's in law already. We've committed to a referendum as well, but we haven't, at least yet, come up with wording that might have unintended consequences, and that's always the problem with wording in the Constitution. But there's zero chance of being privatised. It's not a company that. It's not a company that turns a profit. So I don't quite know who would purchase it.